We're butchering ducks this weekend. We're going to be butchering almost our entire flock from this past year that were breeding stock birds. While to some of you that may sound cruel or callous, I've said it in every video I think about Muscovies, I'll say it again. We raise Muscovy ducks for meat. That is the primary reason that we raise them. Hey guys, I'm Kaylin. Welcome back to Fable Hill Farm. Today I'm going to be doing a farm update. We're going to talk ducks. Where did 48 ducks go in the last few days? We're going to talk about butchering almost our entire flock next weekend. Don't worry, we're still keeping and raising a lot of ducks for next year. We've got a lot of new breeding stock. I'm going to be talking about goats. We've got baby goats that could be hitting the ground as early as next week. Got breeding plans. We've already done some breedings. Excited to share all of that with you guys. I even changed my duck feed again, and I'll talk about that just a little bit with you. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Welcome to Fable Hill Farm. Most all of the birds in this group are going to be butchered here, including Gatsby, our buff drake. These are mostly offspring we bred this year, a couple of hens that were breeding stock this past year that will be butchered as well to make room for newer, better hens, and pretty much everybody over here. Lola here, this double whitehead gene lilac hen who hatched 16 right here. Lola, come back! Who hatched 16 in the hay shed this year. Gets to stay because turns out she's really, really smart. She has taught, these are pretty much all her ducklings. She had a really mixed batch of colors here with this brood. And she has taught all of her ducklings to go out in the pasture and forage. And that's great. That's a behavior we want to encourage. She's our first hen to do that, so she gets to stay. Funny how they're still following mom around when they're all fully grown. First things first, as I mentioned, we culled almost 50 ducks from our flock. All the ducks that I got rid of were ducklings or juveniles, and I took them to a livestock auction, which is the first time I've ever done that. Not something I would like to do because I would prefer to place my birds either with, breeding stock homes or with small families or homesteads that are raising them for meat or pets. We are looking to raise nutrient-dense, sustainable, ethical protein sources for our family and, potentially for others. We would like to expand our Muscovy meat business in the future, certainly. We would like to put our ducks into restaurants and into the hands of chefs who are going to really appreciate the quality of the meat that we're growing here. But at the end of the day, they are food, and when we are unable to sell birds as breeding stock, trust me, this year I did try to place some of my breeding stock birds, and I did sell some earlier, but it just wasn't realistic. I can't keep them all. I've got a lot of new, nice young stock that I will be using next year for breeding, and so again, it's just necessity. We are going to be butchering most of the flock, and I will talk about that more in an upcoming video. Majority of the birds that we have left are either our old breeding stock from this year and years past, our new breeding stock, and then all of the juveniles or young birds that we hatched this year that are at or close to a butchering weight are the birds we decided to keep. The reason we decided to keep them is because we have so much money invested in their feed already into these birds that it is not worth it selling it and taking a loss when we could turn this duck meat into delicious duck breakfast sausage, which is what our plan is for almost all of the duck that we're going to be butchering next weekend. And again, I'll take you guys along for that process. We've never made duck sausage before, but I've been doing some research. I've got some ideas. We lost actually a whole freezer, a deep freezer worth of meat a couple of months ago, and we lost a lot of meat, and so we are looking to replenish those meat stores. We have all these beautiful, delicious ducks running around, free ranging, and we are gonna make use of that meat, and we will gladly do so. So stay tuned for that if you guys want to see the duck sausage videos, and if you want to learn about butchering Muscovies, especially how to butcher them, keep the skin on, keep them really nice and plucked. We butchered some ducks 3-4 weeks ago. I don't think I shot anything on that. It was just a small group of them, and we experimented with duck wax and with our homemade plucker, which link that video down below if you want to see my husband's build on the whiz bang plucker. And so we've kind of nailed down how to get those ducks nice and plucked and get all the feathers off, but have a beautiful whole bird with the skin on. So we will be sharing that in upcoming videos as well. I also added 2 new birds to the flock, which may seem counterintuitive, seeing as I just said we're trying to get rid of ducks and we are butchering most of our flock. I added 2 new hens from my friend in Greenville who breeds Muscovies. I've mentioned her before. She and I readily share genetics and have for the last couple of years. So I brought her 2 birds that I've been holding on to for her in trade, and I brought this really beautiful chocolate ripple as well as a lavender ripple hen. The lavender ripple likely a barred carrier. I had them in quarantine for a couple of days. I know her well. I know how she raises her birds. I have no fears about, you know, diseases or sickness or anything like that. So I just left them in quarantine for a few days so that they could acclimate to their surroundings, because they were used to being, you know, in confinement versus free ranging. So I just wanted them to get an idea of the lay of the land, you know, see the other ducks, know where to go for food before I let them out, and just said, here you go, fend for yourselves, don't run away. It's funny, you can see the ducks are all sparsed and fanned out now. I kept 1 duckling of all my ducklings. Mostly here again are birds that are going to be butchered. Here's Lola that will stay because she's just fantastic. This, I'm pretty sure this one's a drake, yeah. And he's really lovely. He looks to be a ripple carrier, buff drake, I believe. Wish I could keep him, wish I had room. I don't. I love his color. These are just some neat birds here. Here, she's not gonna let me get close, is that new lavender ripple hen. And she was bred by Allison Patry, Al's Quackery, and my friend brought her in, had her shipped in. This chocolate ripple hen is right here, and she's beautiful and very dainty, and so hard to see the ripples. You really got to get close to them, but excited to have her. And then here we've got this beautiful lilac hen I'll be keeping, this chocolate hen, this lilac barred hen who I love. So pretty, excited for them. This blue hen was supposed to be butchered at their last group and she hid. And actually I've been debating keeping her anyways, so I think I will. Just because I do like the richness of her color. I'll go ahead and take you guys in the coop now and show you my feed mixture. As I mentioned, switch that up. I am really trying to minimize the amount of corn that's going into my feed mixture. Again, because of the cost of grain, it's just astronomical. And I'm trying to find alternatives. So I've added in a lot of things that are so much healthier for the ducks overall because they're getting a much more balanced diet. I'm still using the yeast product from Kallenbach that I mentioned in a video I just did recently on changing up my feed a little bit. I am still using the non-GMO grower mix right now, but just a very small amount. And after I show you guys this, I will go ahead and just post like a general percentage of what grains and things I'm using, what additives on the screen, so you can see that just to give you a rough idea. But again, not going to focus on this too much today. DeVille, my one token Polish hen always has to come in here whenever the door is open. She doesn't really like to be held, but I secretly think she likes me more than she's willing to admit. Is that right, Deville? Deville, show him your hair. Show him how pretty your hair is. You're okay, girl. You shouldn't come in here. I always tell you, stay out. Go. Okay, I'll have to shut the door and be quick because it's rather hot when the door's shut. But I do have this other door open in my coop, so it's actually getting a lot of fresh air right now. And that's very nice, especially to help with airflow and smell. You know, chickens are not the best smelling things. Oh, so here's my feed bin, my repurposed recycling bin, which again holds about 150 pounds of grain. And you can see here this mixture, if you've watched any of my previous videos on what I feed my ducks, looks very different. And this has, you know, it still has corn, and again, it still has some of that stuff I was using previously, but I have added a steam rolled barley to that. I've added a Milo or Milo, I believe it's pronounced Milo, which is these little red, little circular things here that you see in like wild bird seed. And I've added black oil sunflower seeds as well. And then I've gone ahead and added in this cracked corn to help with the cost. It's a lot cheaper than the grower mixture, which, you know, that grower's got a lot of stuff in it, like a lot of different additives to make it a balanced, you know, nutritional feed for meat chickens while they're growing. But the ducks don't need all of that stuff, especially because I do add in that Kalmbach yeast product. So this is a lot healthier for the ducks. It is cheaper than what I've been feeding. Not by a ton, but it is cheaper. I know this has got to be more balanced and nutrient dense for my ducks. I'm also starting to feed this partially to the chickens. When I went to the livestock auction, I also took like around 30 chickens, mostly old layers, a couple of young extra roosters we didn't need. I'm getting between 7 and 10 eggs a day, and that's plenty for us and plenty to have extra. And also the eggs that I am getting, because I've been doing some selective breeding projects this year for olive eggers, for chocolate eggs, for some blooms and some speckles on the eggs. The eggs I am getting are so beautiful. It's like a dream egg basket for me. And I have retained both an olive egger rooster and 2 new black copper Maran roosters that I've hatched out from this year. And I will be continuing my rainbow egg experiments for next year, my olive egger project, more black copper Marans, and I'm just going to breed what I like, sell the extras or butcher them. We also like to feed extra roosters. We'll butcher and just feed to Uhtred, our livestock guardian dog. So I'm not going to get crazy and carried away with chickens this year. Everything is about minimizing numbers going into fall and winter. Again, for feed, for cost, you can only have so many and reasonably, you know, justify the feed costs every month, especially in the winter. Ducks aren't laying eggs, Muscovies anyways. They're seasonal, they're not laying eggs, they're not hatching in a cold climate. Chickens lay a lot less eggs. So our coop does have a lot of natural light, so we still do get a good amount of eggs compared to maybe some people that don't have this big door or a skylight like we do. So, you know, just things to think about. Everything costs money, feed costs money, every animal, you know, it all adds to the bill. And at the end of the day, you got to do what works for you. We're cutting back on poultry for right now because we need to do that. Happy with the eggs I'm getting. I'm going to continue to hatch out my own chickens next year and experiment. Going to hatch out a bunch of ducks next year. So, you know, we're still holding on to a lot of breeding stock. I'll go into that more in another video on my breeding plans for next year, what colors and patterns I expect to hatch, who are the birds I'm retaining, show you the whole breeding chart, and get into recessive genes a bit more. I have done some really great videos in the past on Muscovy genetics, so if you want to see those, I'll link those down below as well. Oh, got some eggs. I won't grab them right now, but let's see. Chocolate eggs. This is a bantam egg that's left. Blue and a white blue there. If you guys are new to my channel, if you're not already subscribed and you're interested in Muscovy ducks or in Nigerian dwarf goats or holistic livestock management practices, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so YouTube lets you know when I post new videos. Now I will take you guys out to see the does, my Nigerian dwarf does here, and just talk a little bit about what's going on with them. Whew, it's hot. This stupid chicken in there just squawking and refusing to not be broody. I don't know if the goats are out here or not. Girls! No, I think they must be in the barn then. This chicken refuses to stop being broody. And it looks like she's upset. There's another chicken here. Oh, hasn't laid an egg but wants to. I'll leave her be. Wendy here. Girls are hanging out. Miss Finkel, the herd queen here. Finkel is super pregnant. Ready to stop being pregnant. I've been there, Finkel. I understand. I do. Nigerian dwarf goats are pregnant or have a gestation of 145 days, but it is considered normal and a possibility that they could kid or give birth anywhere between 5 days before their due date or 5 days after their due date. Now, Finkel is due September 12th. But she could go into labor as early as next week, and that would be totally normal midweek. Wendy here will be getting bred fairly soon. Hasn't been bred yet. Heidi here has been bred and hopefully has taken. This will be the 4th time I've bred her. Starting to have some concerns that she could potentially have some reproductive issues or be unable to be bred, so that's a possibility. Sunny has been exposed to a buck, and we'll see. It was her first heat, and it was pretty brief, so we'll see about in the future if she doesn't settle rebreeding her. And of course, Sai here. My first homebred doe, Sunny's sweet little girl, will not be bred this year as she is still very young. She'll be bred probably next spring to kid in the fall of 2022. Finkel's got quite an udder going on. Hopefully she's going to be an excellent producer. That's why I purchased her. You can see how big and uncomfortable she is. How we doing, Fink? Finkel? Just a quick pit stop to take some pictures of Sai because I'm a crazy goat lady. Thought we would come and take a quick look at this pretty sad garden here. My zucchino rampicante, this Italian heirloom zucchini, has come back for a second time. The second round of fruit, which is nice. You can see one hanging here. Aren't those just the coolest? And they're delicious. Another one down here. A lot of dead foliage, but still some life on this plant. Beans and peas. I'm just letting everything dry up so I can save the seeds. You see I've got bean pods and pea pods here hanging. These guys look ready to harvest. Little peas inside there. In my pocket. Cherry tomatoes. Need to come out here and pick these. These are blueberries, cherries. I see a bunch just ripened on me, so I'll come out here later. Get these picked up. Oh, I need to come out and get those fruit. More here. More beans. Don't fly away. Monarch. We've got a lot of monarchs here. A lot for them to eat. Beautiful. Marigolds. Really, really spectacular this year. Super late to bloom, but beautiful. And they just came in so big and full. See over here. Marigolds, marigolds, more marigolds. Marigolds help with pests in the garden, and they're beautiful. I have some I already pulled and infused in oil. I'm going to be making a marigold infused oil to make soap with or salves. Lots and lots of marigolds this year, which has not been the case in previous years. I'm just loaded down with peppers. These are shishitos. So many peppers we need to get picking and preserving. Habanero's starting to turn. Let's see there. Bell peppers were small this year. Lots of peppers. Eggplant. This guy's not looking the best. A couple eggplants so far. A lot of weeds. You can see everywhere weeds. Again, just beans. Just drying them up. Letting them dry, go to seed. If you're a gardener, you may have had that one plant that you've just tried to grow every year and just failed, and you just keep trying because you really want to grow it. For me, that's been Kajari melons, and this will be the, I believe the 3rd year I've tried to grow them. And look at this. There's one teeny tiny itty bitty Kajari melon. Now, the very last day in August, go figure, that I noticed here on this trellis. Look at that. That is a Kajari melon of all things. Talk about a late bloomer. There's actually another one right there. How silly. Sadly, I don't know if I'll be able to harvest any edible melons before we get hit with frost, but it is what it is. I had some cucumbers out here today. Not very many left. I went ahead and picked those and made some fridge pickles, which is just a quick pickle with simple brine. I'm not gonna share that with you guys because there's lots of videos if you want to learn how to make a fridge pickle. We had such a bad year at the beginning of the year with a late killing frost. Killed so many plants, stunted pretty much all my seed starts. So it hasn't been a great cucumber year. I don't think I'm gonna can any pickles this year, which is really unfortunate. We're pretty upset about that, but it is what it is. Next year we will plan accordingly, and I will plant way more and grow way more cucumbers than I possibly did this year and protect them better from that late killing frost. So it is what it is, but sad to say. The nasturtiums are really blooming now. The zinnias have been doing pretty well. Lots of different color zinnias mixed in here, and still got some scarlet kale here that's rough, but I've been juicing kale, juicing Swiss chard. Swiss chard has overall held up really well. I try to pick, you know, the bigger leaves, use the younger leaves, just the greens for salads, both the kale and the chard. So making use of that. Got some tomato plants in here that were volunteers. You can see here is some fruit. I really have no idea, besides cherry tomatoes, how many tomatoes we're even going to harvest this year, because between that late killing frost and the chickens, they have just decimated the tomatoes this year. So another disappointment in the garden, but another lesson learned. So you have to remember, sometimes you fail some gardening years more than others. Hopefully you take away more lessons and just, you know, adapt and do better next year. So. More kale, more zinnias, some mullein that I had planted. I've been harvesting and drying that. Some different herbs, some peppers here. This guy got ate by something. I don't know what these are, but they are getting eaten, so I probably should bring them in. Really not sure. That thing is massive. No clue what kind of pepper that is. Zinnias. Lots and lots of peppers to pick. Lettuce that has gone very well to seed. Cucumbers that are all just pretty much dead on this side. There's one little guy there that may develop, we'll see. So pretty much the garden is at an end for the year. You live and you learn, unfortunately. I did harvest one row of our Adirondack blue potatoes. Got about a 5-gallon bucket. I didn't film harvesting them. I hear people like to watch people dig potatoes, but it was super hot. I was with my daughter. I didn't have a camera. I just started digging and found potatoes and was amazed that I found 5-gallon bucket worth of beautiful blue potatoes. So there's that. Got one pumpkin here that the chickens seem to have left alone. Another one over here in this weedy bed may or may not grow. Oh God, look at that big bug. Oof, he flew away. This wild bed that's supposed to have potatoes in it, but I'm not sure. I haven't dug fully. This is the bed I already harvested with potatoes in it. I think I got them all. Oh, look, missed one. This little blue potato. I don't think that we're gonna harvest any fruit whatsoever off of these this year. Well, these ones have very small little peppers on them, maybe. Before I sign off, I'll show you guys the smelly boys. Say hi to Uhtred, our livestock guardian dog. Look at this duck. Templeton, where are you going? Here's the big dog. Hey, bud. What are you doing? What are you doing, bud? Big dog. Oh, you're just cooling off, napping for your night shift. Well, apparently I can't show you guys the bucks because they're way out in the pasture and they smell. I'm not gonna go track them down, but the bucks are here. They're doing their thing. They are in full rut, meaning they are peeing on themselves a lot. They smell really bad and they are all about the ladies. So breeding season, like I said, underway. The bucks are being bucks. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and getting a full update, as full as I could manage, on what's going on here at Fable Hill Farm. Appreciate all of you who take the time to watch, who subscribe, who comment, who like my videos. Thank you guys for your time, for watching. Leave me a comment down below if there's something you want to see, more you want to see, something you liked about this video, or any questions you might have, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.